Welcome everyone to the Reflections on the 12 Steps, just a friendly announcements. This is not an AA meeting. This is just one member's view on the exact nature of the wrong as described on page 64 of the big book and the solutions contained within. This is not an all share meeting, though shares there will be, but actually a question and answer meeting with Paul. And I'm going to read a little, I hope it's not too much that I'm going to read, but I'm just going to start reading and see how it goes.
All right.
So, I'm looking at page 551 at the back of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm going to start reading, um, even though, anyway, I'm just going to start reading at this resentment was against my mother, okay?
Yes.
Okay, this resentment was against my mother, and it was 25 years old. I had fed it, fanned it, and nurtured it as one might a delicate child, and it had become as much a part of me as my breathing. It had provided me with excuses for my lack of education, my marital failures, personal failures, inadequacy, and of course my alcoholism. And though I really thought I had been willing to part with it, now I knew I was reluctant to let it go. Excuse me. One morning, however, I realized I had to get rid of it, for my reprieve was running out, and if I didn't get rid of it, I was going to get drunk, and I didn't want to get drunk anymore. In my prayers that morning, I asked God to point out to me some way to be free of this resentment. During the day, a friend of mine brought me some magazines to take to a hospital group I was interested in. I looked through them. A banner across one featured an article by a prominent clergyman in which I caught the word resentment. He said, in effect, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, if you will pray for the person or the thing that you resent, you will be free. If you will ask in prayer for everything you want for yourself to be given to them, you will be free. Ask for their health, their prosperity, their happiness, and you will be free. Even when you don't really want it for them and your prayers are only words and you don't mean it, go ahead and do it anyway. Do it every day for 2 weeks, and you will find you have come to mean it and to want it for them, and you will realize that where you used to feel bitterness and resentment and hatred, you now feel compassionate, understanding, and love. I think I'll just finish this page and stop, Paul.
All right.
It worked for me then, and it has worked for me many times since. And it will work for me every time I am willing to work it. Sometimes I have to ask first for the willingness, but it too always comes. And because it works for me, it will work for all of us. As another great man says, the only real freedom a human being can ever know is doing what you ought to do because you want to do it. This great experience that released me from the bondage of hatred and replaced it with love is really just another affirmation of the truth I know. I get everything I need in Alcoholics Anonymous, and everything I need I get. And when I get what I need, I invariably find that it was just what I wanted all the time.
Well, that's fantastic.
Mm.
Yes. So,
Eh,
yeah, I read this when I was early on, and
mhm.
I remember had I had one of those relationships. I was 6 months and she was 3 months, and being with her had brought up feelings I hadn't felt for a long time because I didn't really feel much when I was out there, and those feelings were cool, Yeah. And so I pursued it. And of course, we both were in a condition of not being able to have a viable relationship with another person at the time. But who gave a shit, really? So we went for it. And then it fizzled out after a year or so. She was a very beautiful woman, and I remember it hadn't been that long since, and I still had a lot of those same feelings, and the resentment had grown somewhat. Uh, her leaving me. Uh, and so I was at this AA thing in a town called Sausalito. It was like a daytime little meet and greet or something. And I went there, minding my own business. I'm usually introverted in a sense. So, and then there was almost like I could hear some trumpets blowing. And then suddenly these two beautiful people walked in, her and her new boyfriend. And it felt like a spotlight was on them, and rose petals were falling from the ceiling. And I felt really bad. Yeah, and I didn't obviously didn't know what to do with it, so I left. Yeah, didn't know what to do with it. And the best thing was to leave. But I had remembered this reading in the book, and I applied it because when her name came up in my head and his name, I felt bad. Yeah, and I was pissed and would have been vindictive, but I was basically had uh been changed enough that I took it like a man, so to speak. So I was learning to face life successfully, but I needed this help. So I did that. I did exactly what this lady prescribed or described, and it worked. Yeah, where because I could not, shut the door and not let a thought of Wendy not come in. I wasn't that fast. Yeah. So thoughts of Wendy and this guy would come in, stir this pot up, and I'd feel very uncomfortable. And I didn't know what to do when I felt like that. And I usually would do something that would cause havoc and trouble. So, uh, I did it and it changed. So when the uninvited thought of Wendy or Tom came in my head, it was greeted with, tolerance and love, so to speak. Yeah. And I have used this a few times in my life, mostly in the early years, and it works, as many things do. Yeah. So the first paragraph is the interesting thing to me, though, which is her description of this resentment she had towards her mother and her role in it, which was I had fed it, fanned it, and nurtured it as one might a delicate child. Now, how I see that, it wasn't her feeding it, nurturing it, and it was a delicate child of the head, yeah, or what you want to call self. So self spawned this child of a resentment and was feeding it and nurturing it and taking care of it. Yes. All the while you were living unbeknownst to this event. Yeah. And so she was really like a hatchery or like an incubator for resentments that something wanted to grow in her, which I think is a foreign thing, this idea of self. I do. And I mean, it's the way to if I would was make a comic of it, I would make it in an illustration like that, like a parasitical thing, having a part of us like sectioned off where it was like a baby hatchery, and resentments and fears were being cooked and given birth to, and then kept constantly resuscitated and given life using us. Yeah, literally. That's how I would picture it, imagery wise. And so she's describing how I pictured it perfectly. Yeah, and so I've always used this over the years, and but I haven't read it in a while, and it's really incredible. I had fed it, so I would say self was feeding it. Yes, this is how I would change this. See, because this, unbeknownst to you, is self-knowledge in a way. If you see all this, but you don't see the cause of it, it becomes self-knowledge, which is going to fail you. Yeah? You don't see that. Yes. So this knowledge is as good as far as it can go. But if it doesn't bring about a suspicion of what was the cause of it or the origin, that knowledge I feel is self-knowledge, and it will avail you nothing, really. Yeah, it will. Then you will know why you're fucked, but you'll still be getting fucked. Yeah, see, that's not, yeah, I'd rather not know I'm getting fucked if I'm still getting fucked. Obviously, that's the Yeah, so that side will win the argument. Yeah, I'd rather be oblivious than to have knowledge that just uh, illuminates my powerlessness. Yeah, I don't want to feel powerless all day. Yeah, so let me shoot some drugs and I feel some power. Yeah, so fed it, fanned it, and nurtured it as one might a delicate child. Yes. Do you see the nurse in that unit is self? Yeah. It fans it and gives life to this resentment. Now that resentment becomes a part of her, like she said. And it had become as much a part of me as my breathing. Wow. It's like an alien takeover, so to speak. Yes. It's almost like the alien lung is right next to the human lung, and her breathing is feeding both. Yeah. She's feeling tired and ornery and distempered because she's not getting much of the oxygen. The fucking other thing's taking the oxygen of your life. Yeah. And now the resentment has you, doesn't it? This idea that you have a resentment is bogus. A resentment has you. It comes up and it has you, and it can jackpot you into a 20-year prison sentence. It can. Yeah. It can ruin many a relationship. It can bring on a terrible emotional hangover if you act out. Yeah. So I had felt it. So she believed, and then it was true here, it had provided me with excuses for my lack of education, my marital failures, personal failures. You actually don't need a freaking excuses for that. Yeah. You see, something is using us to live. Yeah. And it rationalizes itself to us because it makes no fucking sense. Yeah. It makes no sense to do what a lot of the shit that we keep doing. It makes absolutely no sense. It's against all beneficial direction. Yet it happens. Yeah. Yeah. If we're vying for power, we're losing that race. Something has a lot of power over us. Yeah. It had provided me with excuses for my lack of education, my marital failures, personal failures, inadequacy, and of course, my alcoholism. And did it really? Did the excuses actually work? Obviously, no. Yeah. Because it's a failed system. Reliance on self is a failed system. Reliance on self is a failed system. And though I really thought I had been willing to part with it, yes, see, this is the propaganda it gives us. Yeah. It says, if only I got this or got away from this, I would go with you to heaven. I would. I'd be the booster rocket. I would push you into that state of peace and serenity. No, it doesn't. It's chaotic, it's agitated. Yeah. It will say, "Oh yeah, I'm with you. Let's shoot for the stars," but it's not looking that way. Yeah. And though I really thought I had been willing to part with it, now I knew I was reluctant to let it go. Yes. Now, I do not believe she was reluctant to let it go. I believe she really wanted to let go. Something was holding on to it, that she did not have the discernment to recognize it wasn't her. That's humbly how I read this book. Yeah. I read this book by asserting these things that we think we did to keep us from the sunlight of the Spirit. I do not believe we did it. I do not believe our deep intention is to keep ourselves from the sunlight of the Spirit. I do not believe that. I do not. So there must be something else in there that believes that. And that something else seems to have power over us. And so this is the deal of recovery. We're going to make a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of something other than self. Yes? So we're not used as an incubator where it fucking grows resentment and grievance and anxiety and hate towards others or turned on yourself. Yeah. Because there is a nursery in us and a lot of shit's being grown and a lot of shit is being taken care of and groomed, so to speak. Yes. So you have some whoppers or deep resentments that are going to lead you to drink again. Yeah. That's what they tell us. It's the killer of most alcoholics. If these aren't dealt with, it has the ability to kill us. Yeah, a deep resentment because we're gonna drown in it. Yeah, yeah, and one day we're gonna act on it, and we're gonna do something probably really stupid. Yeah, and maybe you got away with a lot of really stupid things, but that one time maybe you don't get away. Yeah, and then something happens, like with me getting run over by a car twice. That event that night has influenced my physical experience ever since, like, 44 years now. Yeah. A typical alcoholic idea that I was missing something got me back in my car again. And know what I was missing? I was missing a big car running me over. I had no idea of that. And then that event happened. Unbelievable. I don't even remember it. And it left a deep impression on my physical condition for 44 years. Wow. Yeah. Thoughts that I had danced with many times and I got away with it. Yeah. Yeah. This one time I didn't get away with it. And that was starting to happen more and more, actually. I wasn't getting away with what I thought get away with. Yeah. And it was sort of like Russian roulette. I was just watching the segment of that great movie with De Niro and Walker, Deer Hunter, where they're doing the you know, game of shooting. Yes. This is sort of what it was starting to become. I was more apt to run, pull a trigger, and there was a bullet in there. So uh, you may not have had that come yet. It may be coming, though, if these resentments keep abiding in you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right. So one morning, however, then it tells you how she ran into this thing, really in the act of being of service. Isn't that interesting? So she was the act of being of service, bringing these magazines to a place to help other people, and she got help as usual. Yes? When there's service, everyone's getting served. Yeah. It's not either this or that. Everyone's getting served. So she got served what she was looking for, bringing shit to help other people see what they were looking for. Yeah, there you go. If you stay in the loop, uh, you're going to get wet by the rain of grace, so to speak. Yeah. It is. It's going to shower on you. So there, and then it goes in. It's beautiful. The last thing is the great experience that released me from the bondage of hatred and replaced it with love is really just another affirmation of the truth I know. Wow, very cool. I get everything I need in Alcoholics Anonymous, and everything I need, I get. And when I get what I need, I invariably find that it was just what I wanted all the time. That sure seems like a transformation, eh? Pretty nice transformation. So, remember when in the beginning, I remember I wanted a lot of things, and then I'd hear the bell ring at the door, and someone was there delivering something. But I thought what I wanted was going to come in certain packaging, and it didn't look like the package I was hoping for. So I said no to the delivery. And then I got weaned out of that in a couple of months. Yes. And I gave up my preconceived idea of what I need would look like when it was delivered and start just signing the deliveries. Yeah. Just like this lady. It didn't take long. It really didn't. The switch happened in a few months, yeah. But I was saying no to life's little taking care of my needs because I had wrapped needs into wants. Yeah. Specific ways I wanted it and everything. And I wasn't going to get my way. Yeah, I wasn't. So I had to just fucking start signing for every delivery. Yeah. Some things I didn't want to open up right away, but I did. And I learned I could face life successfully. And a lot of my old ideas were just that, old ideas. A lot of my old ideas were old ideas. And when they weren't applicable in my new condition of being sober, they just weren't. And it was best for them to fall off the tree and get raked up and be used for something else. Yeah. So I've always liked this story, Freedom from Bondage, because she describes so many aspects of what it is like to harbor resentment. Yeah. You believed you asked that boat to come in and park, but you didn't. Something did, but you didn't. And you're being used really like an incubator to cook this shit up. Yeah. You know, mental anxiety sometimes takes some time to produce the sense of fear. Yeah. You got to be listening to it for a while. Yeah. Fear, if you saw a shark, you would immediately have fear. A lot of the fear we get into is cooked for a couple of days, isn't it? The head is going over, going over it, going over it, and producing different levels of anxiety until it gets the right temperature that it wants, and you're cooked. Yeah. Fear sometimes is when something happens. Mental anxiety is about what's not happening. Yeah. So it may have to cook longer. Yeah. It's all to me a freedom from the bondage of self. How does that look? You see self as something other than you. How does that look? A loss of interest in self. How does that look? A gaining interest in the infinite, so to speak. What happens? The same energy or faith I had in self that caused a bondage is now enriching my day. Hmm? Yeah. The same juice, same energy, just directed by something other than the self, is producing different effects. I've become quite used to those effects, and they've actually become a basis of my life. Yeah. Yes. I do not have to do a lot of shit to entertain peace of mind. It's quite available. Yeah. I don't have to super pump something to feel that new power flowing. It's always new flowing all the time. Yeah. I sense a presence of that loving God, let's say, or that loving energy, because I've lost the occupation of obsessing over the presence of self. Yes. I'd much rather have the absence of self than the presence of self. And so it's been, and so it is. Yeah. Hallelujah, really. Literally. Hallelujah. So yeah, I really like her description. I recommend that one paragraph that the resentment was because it's a perfect description of she believed that she would get rid of it at any moment. She would do anything, but she didn't. She was comatose to the unsuspecting inner possession that was using her as an incubator to cook up this shit. Yeah, really. My girl Amelia is Italian, and when she makes a meat sauce, it cooks a long, long time, a really long time, and it shows it when you eat it. It's much different than a can of tomato sauce and then cook it up. No, yeah, this is what the head does. It cooks up a lot of shit in us. Yeah, and we're brought to a place we wouldn't want to go to. And then we have to rationalize and make excuses for it because we think it's us. And how are you going to get to the level of not regretting your past if you still believe you were the doer of all that shit? How? Tell me. The past that I have, if I was the doer of it, you better believe an appropriate response would be regret. A lot of fucking regret, a huge amount of regret. Yes. But if it wasn't me that did that, that I was driven, that I was used, then I can see it and do a fearless look of it and not have regret because I could not have done anything other than what I did. In the condition I was in, being powerless and being used by something, basically, I drove to all the robberies, but I did not do the robbery. Yeah. Yeah. I'm accountable here because I drove there, but I'm not responsible. That to me is the next wave of recovery. Taking responsibility for your own things and then seeing something else's role in things, something foreign to us, and then laying on the accountability on that. And then you look at the past without regret and you can do a fearless inventory because it's not you, you know? I don't see it any other way. I don't know how you're gonna not shut the door on the past or not regret it if you fucking believe you were the doer of it all. Yes? Do you actually believe that it's so weird that you're so terminally unique, yet you did the same thing almost every alcoholic would do in the same situation? Yes. Don't you see? The uniqueness is manufactured. We're not unique. We do what an addict would do. We think like an addict. We feel like an addict. We're a fucking addict. And beautifully, and then you're not. Yes? Yeah. So we will not regret the past nor shut the door on it. Yes. I haven't seen that much. Yeah. I have people, they have a umbilical cord. They're 39 years sober and they're still held captive by the past based on that they did all those things that they were driven to do by self. Yes? And then the book that they idolize, they're not seeing it in the book. Yet it's said in the book many times. Yeah. You were driven by 100 forms of something. You made decisions based on self. Yeah, most of them. Yeah. Did you make that decision? No, self made the decision. You were tied up in the trunk when it was making a left and a right. And when the cops come, it takes you out of the trunk and puts you behind the steering wheel. And when the cops pull you over, you did it and you agree. I did it. You didn't do it. You were fucking tied up in the trunk. Uh-oh, here comes the shit. Get him out, put him in the wheel, put him in steering wheel, pulled over. I did it, officer. I did it. What? Fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable. Uh-oh, the shit's gonna hit the fan. Put Paul there. Yeah, it's funny. The thing that drove me to jail never went to jail. I went to jail, but what drove me to jail never went to jail. It's the one that picks me up when I get released. And then I do the same thing that put me in jail again and again and again and again. How can you not see the possibility that what has defeated you is foreign to you? I don't know how. I would think you would love to see that possibility. Well, who wants to walk around with all that guilt and regret? Because obviously, in your mental court, you are convicted. You were an asshole. You did terrible fucking things. You're not going to get released on probation, or there's not going to be a reprieve in the mental courts. You're convicted. Yeah. But this is like a true pardon, a spiritual pardon. Yes. Oh, you're just trying to bypass the heavy work of feeling guilty for the rest of your life. Yes, I am. I am completely, I am completely bypassing that. Yes. Oh, you got to go through the trauma. No, I don't have to do shit. Yeah. I may be perfectly usable just the way I am. Yeah. Yeah. So you got to get down to the exact nature of the wrong. I did. Yeah. I was brought there. The exact nature of the wrong is foreign to us. Yeah. I'm not going to pay therapy for it. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to wait to be okay until it gets to be okay. I'm not. Yeah. I'm going to do or be an example of the thing it's most scared of. I'm going to lose interest in it. Yes, I am. I have. It's really the killing. It's the kill shot for it is irrelevance. If it can't block you off the sunlight of the spirit, wow, it doesn't like that. If you can be free from it and not be free as it, it doesn't like that. It signs up for you to be free as it all the time. All those things that you went to and you said when you left they were amazing, only to have to do another thing that you say after you left was amazing. And all the amazings haven't really changed anything. Yes? Yeah. This is different than that. Yeah. You lose interest in self. Yeah. You lose interest in its drive for you to try to get out of it all day because you realize you're not in it. Seriously. Yeah. I am not moved to do exercises for self. I'm not. Yeah. I like to see self hung out to dry. It's very interesting when it doesn't get its way. It reveals itself. Yeah. It always overplays its hand. It's foreign to us. Yeah. That's the good news. Yeah. So be accountable, see your role in things, and then really see what has defeated you role in things, which says it right on page 64. Being convinced self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Yes, there you go. That's the exact nature of the wrong. Self and us are different. Self is foreign to us. Yeah. Somehow we're in the act of living as if we're identified as self, and that's what gives it carte blanche to use us to do what it wants. Yeah. It doesn't treat us well, does it? No. Yeah. Do you think it's going to? I would imagine no. When it comes in, I've truly changed, Paul. No. A snake is a snake is a snake. Yeah, no matter how many legs you paint on it, it's still a snake. The pig, no matter how much lipstick you put on, it's still a pig. So beautiful. Thank you, honey. And anyone likes to share, whatever.
Thank you, Paul. If anyone would like to let us know that you want to talk in some respect or reaction or Paul, I was just thinking about like I was sober for 20 years before I met you. And I was and I called myself diligently um living the steps of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and developing this trust in the higher whatever the higher power, just developing an increasing trust in that power, but yet still missing that I was the doer was still that was deep in me, a guilt and shame of something. All this other stuff seemed to, I made amends, the family loved me, they forgave, all that stuff was cleaned up. And so the years, the traveling later, I guess, was beginning at that point of just giving the trust over and not trying to direct anything that happened in my life, but trusting God taking care of. And then when I met you in your message, that's when that recognition of that I was never the doer of anything in my whole entire life. And then something happened one day where I had this emotional disturbance about like my kids and guilt and shame about the one I would never be able to release in relation to my kids, and how I wasn't a good mom, and that somehow released this day. I was actually doing the lessons in the course, beside the point, but it released that day, and then something happened where then that the message that I wasn't the doer was just able to
You
be.
froze, or I froze.
Yes. Oh, I froze. Did I freeze?
You're good.
I can hear you, Kathleen.
Yeah, you
Did Paul
froze.
freeze?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Paul, that was my point. Like I was all fresh and ready for your message when I met you. Like it was just so perfect, and then
Yeah, great. Well, that's what happens, doesn't it? Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that to
It's
everybody
like
out
that lady
there.
found that article in a magazine she was bringing to a place where they couldn't get out to hear the message. So she heard the message while she was carrying the message. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Yeah, we have hands. We have hands. I talked along. So we have Ted and Gary Clark. I think Ted is first.
Hey, hey, Paul. Thank you. I resonated with a lot today. So I kind of have two related questions about just the practical nuts and bolts of this. So, like, what does a step 10 or inventory look like for you today? Because I found that I think the self in me, I've been sober about 12 years, almost 13, coming up in April, and I feel like it's kind of attached itself to some of the like doing the work type tools. Like I've been coming back to AA more now, and it's like, oh no, you can't let go of this resentment or this fear without doing a big inventory and all this like song and dance. Like it almost feels like cheating if I just kind of see through it and let it go.
Yes.
And so I'm curious your take on that because I remember years ago I wrote a fourth step one time and I had 200 resentments, and my sponsor was a big book guy. Literally asked, he was like, "If I gave you a bigger notebook, would you have just kept writing?" It probably would have. Like, so that's
Yeah.
one question. Like, what does this look like from this like realization stance of using these tools? Do you sometimes write it out still or?
No, not much.
Okay.
But I did in the beginning. I did the 10 step religiously for about 2 or 3 years. And I think by doing that, it brought me to that I didn't need to do that. Yes. The last
Mm,
time I wrote it was a while ago. The last
mm,
time I actually called one of my sponsees who's got more time than I do and did the thing of talking to her about it because I could feel it in my body and it was an old one. Something that triggered a remembrance of an old uh, manifestation of self, let's say. That was a while ago. But if something came like that again, I would do it. Yeah, and
mm,
I do, but I can do the inventory now in my head because I like the Joe and Charlie, and I've been using since I was introduced to Joe and Charlie Big Book stuff. I've used that 4 column idea, so I can bring something to the fourth column quickly and see self's role in it, actually. That's how I see it. And there's a huge clue given to the 4 characteristics that you're going to see as the basis of the resentment, let's say, and 2 of them start with the word self. So, I mean, I would imagine the criminal is been pointed at quite easily. So,
mm,
yeah. So I believe a lot of the stuff. Well, I don't profess it. I don't make it part of the program, but I make it as an effect of following the program, which is you become like a free range alcoholic in a sense. So I don't do
mm,
much anymore. I don't do 8 or 9 because I don't have a resentment that comes to that point. And 10, I don't have much to look at because I'm not doing shit. And at 11, I feel at this point just being awake as Paul is improving the conscious contact, or as spirit, really, not as Paul. Yeah. I believe
mm,
we are spirit, and I feel the acknowledgement of what you're not leads to the fact that you are spirit. And I believe that's the highest form of maintenance of spirit, of a spirit's condition, is being a spirit's condition. I do. And it doesn't have a franchise gym you go to or weights it sells or anything. It's just basically you're awake and all day you're awake.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm never not here, sleeping, awake. Yeah. So that's how it looks now. And I've been rolling downhill, and the hill I think is a huge mountain because I'm still rolling downhill for years now.
What do you mean by rolling downhill?
Uh, just I'm living that the principles I tried to adopt when I was young in AA. Yeah, I'm living uh the adoption of those principles. I'm in the habit of being sober. Yeah. So it's just like there was a Paul and Paul had a crazy life. There isn't so much crazy, yeah. And that life is the longest event of the living. Yeah. It's going on a long, long time. So it's almost as if I pushed off on a wave, and this wave, I just keep riding the wave now. Yeah, I don't need, see, when you're on the wave, you're not going to be paddling anymore. Yeah. You
Mm,
paddle a little bit to get in the wave. And usually if you're if you're smart and if you're surfing and stuff, you're at the point where the wave's going to break, so it limits the amount of paddling almost to no paddling. Yeah, you just do a little bit to take off and then the wave does the rest. Well, this is what I feel the program's like. Yeah.
mm,
The program locates you to where you need to be to catch that wave. Yeah. And so once you feel the sense of the wave moving you, you don't paddle ever again on that wave. Yeah. The paddling has a role, and that's to get into the wave or to help you get aligned with the wave. The paddling isn't moving you, the wave is moving you. Yeah.
mm.
Paddling just gets you to a point where the wave will pick you up and move you. This to me is the program. What phase are you on? Do you need to get located to set you up for the wave? That would be the beginning time, I feel. And then if you stay with it, you now know the beach and you now know where to go where the waves break. And then there's very little paddling. Yes?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like there's some paddling required, but like
Well,
the
then
panic
there's a
and the
paddling
yeah,
required, do the paddling.
yeah,
Because the paddling growth change and what AA does is change us, but it's directed, so it's growth. Yeah. So
yeah.
AA changes us not just for the sense of changing, but for the sense of growing out of something and growing into something. So, yes. So the paddling, if you're growing out of something, let's say the paddling would be that activity. When you're growing into something, that's riding the wave. Yeah. So in a little bit at times there's work to grow in the growing out of something, but the growing into something isn't any work. Yes. Yes.
Okay, that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Spirit
Oh,
isn't chanting, it's a spirit. The spirit is spirit. And now a lot of the ideas between you and spirit have been dismissed, and it's obvious you are what you used to look for, which is spirit. Yes. Yes. You may be appearing as a physical and a mental event, but your nature is of spirit. Yes. So therefore your true condition is your nature. Yeah. You don't have to exercise a nature. You live that nature. Like my dog doesn't exercise to be a dog. Yeah. It's a dog, 100%. There's no not dog in it at all.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a dog every day. That's it. Dogging, dogging, dogging. It's not trying to be a dog. It's not trying to stay to be a dog. It doesn't want to become a better dog. It's not really, it's just dogging. Yes. And by watching her, I'm reliable. I know her and I know her movements. Yeah. Because
mhm,
she's in the habit of being a dog. Yeah. we're not in the habit of being, let's say, a spirit. We're not. We need to get into the habit of being spirit. And AA
Mhm.
is one of those ways that allows that event to be facilitated. Yeah, with sound principle, a lot of support and stuff like that. So instead of, because we come in, the mental condition is super emphasized. Yeah, that's where the problem resides. The mental condition is the director. It's doing everything. Yeah, and this is why. And then you see people a lot of, when I go back east, I go to rehabs there, and these people, these guys who are crystal meth addicts, 6 months later, they've all been in the gym, they're all buffed out and everything. So the body comes easily, but their mind is still fucked. Yes. So then you hear that they went back out, and then the muscles droop, and then they lose all that weight. And yes. And so, yeah, yeah. So the mental, when it's only the mental and physical, the mental's going to dominate. It's just the way it is. You can have the perfect body and be completely fucked. You can do 800 and be flipping out. Yeah. Because the head, the mental state will trump the physical state. It will. Yeah. But and in the deck we've been playing with, there's only those two powers. There's the mental and physical. But there's the ace is the spiritual condition. And this is what AA says is the solution, is the spiritual condition. If the mental condition if you could lose interest in the mental condition, which is the point of AA, the point of AA is said in page 63, losing interest in self. When you lose interest in the mental condition, the unsuspected inner resource of being a spiritual condition becomes suspected. Yes. And then you start going along that direction, and there's the change. Yeah. The mental shrinks up and gets to a much more workable size, and the spirit becomes the enveloping nature. Yes. Yeah. I'm not relying on the head, yet I'm in a deep state of reliance. I'm not relying on the head. I'm not. But there is a deep state of reliance because all day the action figure is in a world of unknowns. Things can happen. I have no idea. Yeah. What's going on? Literally, in a lot of ways. Things could just suddenly stop and the house collapse or whatever. Yeah. But there's a reliance, but I'm not relying on the physical or the mental. I'm relying on something other than physical and mental. And it's allowing me to travel lighter as a physical and mental event. So that's how it's worked. Yeah. The mental has failed. The physical, I got destroyed physically by a car. Yeah. My chassis. Yeah. I have terrible sinuses. Maybe because I put tons of cocaine in the Holland Tunnel and traffic all day in and out. So I can no way think that was a curse put upon me. I participated greatly. Something that, so yeah, these things, and when I wake up, I have no guarantee that the sinuses are going to be good that day. It's a crapshoot. Yeah. Now, knowing that life is an uncertainty, how can you be secure? Well, I believe in reliance on something greater than self. Yes, simple as that. Yeah. I sleep very well. Do I have reason to sleep well? Probably not. I should be fucking worried, probably quite a lot. But I sleep really well. And I feel assured that if the house does collapse, I'll know what to do when it does. Yes, but that's not happening now. So I'm enjoying the hell out of this meeting.
Nice call.
Yeah. So so I don't do a lot of the program anymore. I think I'm done to by the program. I do. I don't, but I'm not an advisor. If you feel you need to do something, you better do it. I believe, let's say the 11th step, most people see it's about prayer and meditation, but really the target is improving one's conscious contact. Yeah.
Hmm.
That prayer and meditation is just a suggestion of a way to improve one's conscious contact. You're going to learn tons of stuff that seems to improve your conscious contact. That's not written in a book. You'll be a living book about what if in you or with you or as you has improved your conscious contact. And it can be tons of things. Yeah. So I don't feel I'm much different. A lot of people would get to that step 11 and think if they can't meditate, and a lot of people are very anxious, they're not built as a meditator. Yeah. And yet they love to go out to nature. And they think, well, I've got to become a good meditator. If you can, no, find another way for the improved conscious contact to occur. These were just two suggestions. They weren't fucking uh yes. See how the head is just so weird, man. It puts the emphasis on prayer and meditation, where the emphasis really on the statement is to improve one's conscious contact. What greater way to improve one's conscious contact is service? It works all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If self can use the tools to make me more caught in self, it will do
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. Yes, for sure. And the self will be the first thing you hear, but the hearing of it is really the first thing. The hearing of anything is the first thing, and that's us. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, the loudspeaker in most of us as an action figure is from the head. It has a megaphone. So it yells at
Mm.
you and says you're the doer after something has happened. Yeah. All the while it was the motivating factor for the doer, for the doing. Uh, bondage of self, man. There's a lot of bondage of self in recovery. Yes. So, all right. Anyone else?
Yes, yes, two
Oh,
people
Gary.
now.
Gary,
Gary
yeah.
Clark
Thanks.
and
Nice to see you, Ted. Nice to see you.
sorry.
The greatness is you and I are both sober, so we have the luxury to be able to talk and entertain these ideas. Yeah. All right, Gary.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great, great. Thanks, Paul. I just had a thunderclap outside. That was pretty exciting.
Wow. That was
Um,
me. I threw a thunderclap at you.
anyway, I wanted to share something that came up as you were talking. A lot of times in these meetings, I get confused because, about because the saying of the word "I" kind of bounces back between you know, the true one and the false one way of saying it. So I'm kind of, like I got a little confused about, well, who's he talking to and who's talking? And so something came through a little clearer this time. It's like when you talk about identifying the self, it's sort of like I've been wearing or had been wearing a skin tight suit, and I thought that skin tight suit was me, and the words coming out of that skin tight suit's mouth were me. But your talks have sort of said, "Hey, you're wearing a skin tight suit, and that suit is what's talking. That's not really you." And
Yeah.
plant the seed of idea that way, and it's like, oh, that makes more sense. So sometimes it's the suit talking, and sometimes something else comes through, and I don't know, that just sort of puts something to bed because because self can't get out of self, and yet there is a seeing of that self that is the freeing from the bondage. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I just wanted to share that because, that simple seeing seems to resolve a lot of the difficulties.
Right, yes, Gary. And the thing is, it's an empty skin suit. There's not something
Mm,
that has skin that's wearing a skin suit. There's nothing home as we
mm,
think of us. We think of ourselves as a thing. I don't believe we're actually a thing. I believe the body is a non-existent thing that can be
mm,
brought into animation by existence. Yeah. So
mm, mm.
if you notice, when the spirit leaves, you're stuck with a body. Yes. When Fred
Yeah,
dies, Fred's body's still here. And then you got to deal with the body. Yeah.
yeah,
So the body that was called Fred is obviously not Fred, because the spirit of Fred, which was mistaken as the body of Fred, has seemingly split. And there you are, stuck with Fred as the body. And all you want to do is get rid of it. Yeah.
yeah,
People burn it, bury it, and shit like that. And it
yeah.
can stay around for quite a while. You dig it up, there's a skeleton, and yet there's no the spirit of Fred wasn't the spirit of the body.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So the head has the non-existent thing mixed up with existence. Yeah. And has given the name of existence as a non-existent thing, the name of Paul. So the I am of existence, which would be verifying itself constantly, being spirit, is now been claimed and is used to verify I am, wait for it, Paul. So Paul is now the emblem on what represents the livingness of Paul, which is a body, which is truly so. The the spirit seems to disappear or move, and there you are. The body doesn't go with the spirit. So something is freed from the body, and it ain't the body. The body's still there.
Mm,
And
mm.
most of us are trying to be free as a body.
Yeah,
Inevitably, you're going to be free as a body. It's built into the contract. It's called death.
mm,
So,
yeah,
but people are trying to be free as a body, when in the contract it doesn't say anything about that. It says you're going to be free from a body.
from. Got to read the
Because
fine print.
so there is a skin suit, but no one's wearing the skin suit. It's
Ah,
almost filled with air. There's
yeah,
nothing, there's nothing, there's no real weight in it. Yes. But because you see the skin, you think it's all this other stuff. But it ain't. Because when you see the skin without the existence, it ain't Uncle Fred.
it ain't Uncle Fred.
That's not my mother. That's not. You've been calling someone something for 70 years, but you were calling the skin suit to something, and it was proven over and over and over again to be a big mistake. Literally, yeah. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes, because it interprets life uh, completely from a misunderstanding. Yeah. So we
Yeah, it feels trapped.
misunderstanding. Yes. So I
Mm,
think you can start living and outgrow that misunderstanding before the contract runs out and the inevitability occurs. So yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe it's cool if you could sense that you're a spirit while there's the animation of a body, so you can make art or do this or fucking become funny or whatever. Tons of different ways where you're
mm,
not taking self so seriously as a body. Yes.
mhm, mhm.
Now, instead of the absolute end of it, when the spirit seems to move on. Yes. because the body
No.
obviously doesn't go with it. I do not believe heaven is going to have an 18-hole golf course. I don't. I think we're really looking from a telescope, and we think the telescope is seeing the stars. The telescope doesn't see shit. You do. You see the stars by looking
Mm,
through the telescope. You are the living of this life. The body is not.
mm, mm.
Yes.
Yeah. So everything that I see through the telescope is not true. It's showing me what I'm not.
Well, it's the really, it can be true what you see, but the seer of it is not true. The seer of it is not the
Mm,
telescope. You may
mm,
see what's true, but the seer claimed to be the telescope is not true. The telescope is not seeing the stars, though the stars are there to be seen. That is true. But
mm,
the mistake is with the identification. This telescope, which is facilitating the seeing of the stars, has never seen a star, nor will ever see a star. Yes? Without you standing there before the telescope, gazing through it, there's not going to be a seeing of any star from the Skell telescope's point of view. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fundamental, obviously. It's
Yeah.
fundamental. Can you imagine if at that point the mistake just mistakes itself over and over again? You keep seeing, you keep believing that which you see things through is the seer of things. Yes? Isn't that insane? The mistake just keeps on mistaking. Yeah, on and on again. You would
Uh-huh.
you would think that if you after you've looked through the telescope for 70 years, you'd realize it ain't the telescope that's looking. You would think, eh? I mean,
Well,
maybe
the
it's going to
brain
take 90
interprets to
years.
the body.
What?
The brain interprets to the body, as you like to
Exactly.
say.
Exactly. Yeah. So, uh, it's nice finally to recognize in this life of telescopes that you're the one that's seeing the stars. Yeah.
See, that kind of statement was the one that would send me for loops. It's like, because you're the one that's seeing the stars would be interpreted, by the brain, which interprets the body, and then go into some kind of a feedback loop. Wait, what do you mean? No, no, no. So
Good. I'm
this
happy that's getting confused. That's why I just said it again. I like to see that motor smoke. Yeah. You got to smoke that motor. It's fucking, can't make
yeah,
fun of it. Great.
thanks
Exactly.
for a little Zen bit
You
slap.
mean there's a seeing of the stars and it's not the you that's seeing? Yes, there's seeing of stars right now. I'm seeing rainfall. Yeah. There's a seeing of rainfall. Is there a seer of rainfall? No. There's just seeing of rainfall. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Well, wait a
Mm.
minute. The head wants to present me as a noun, and life is presenting me as a verb. Which one do I want to go with? Well, I went with the head for a long time. That didn't fucking work out. I think I'm going to go with the verb interpretation for a while.
Mm.
See if that
Mm.
fits better. And I feel it does. Yes. There's there's
Yeah.
seeing the
More thunder.
stars or there's the seer of the stars. Yes? One is an event, one is an interpretation of an event.
Yes.
Which one you want?
Yeah. Mm.
Well, the
Well,
interpretation event is all about me. I like that. That's pretty much, I can cherish that. That's all about me. Sounds
mm,
good. But it doesn't work out that way, does it?
no,
Excessive self-centeredness doesn't work. Yeah. Having everything all about you does not fucking work.
it's not a
Yeah.
happy ending.
What you would think would fill your stomach destroys your stomach. Yeah. Yes. So, I think it would be wonderful. It's all about me. No, it won't. Yeah. Don't you ever see the old movies, Twilight Zone or shit like that, where the person is believing, oh, if no one, I don't want anyone else to live here. They're all bothering me. Yeah. And he just
Yeah.
loves to read and hang out by himself. And then he gets his wish, and there's a huge nuclear explosion. Every human being and living thing is gone except him. And he's got the key to the libraries of the world. And he's walking around, and the
I saw
glasses
that.
fall, and he steps on his glasses and he can't see.
Yeah.
That's like the head.
Yeah. Didn't pan out.
Oops. Yeah. So, where does the problem reside? In the mental. Yes. Comes right out of the book. The problem resides in the mind.
Hmm.
How much more do
So
you
the solution's not to be found there.
Yeah. So, what is self-centeredness? Self-centeredness is a way of looking at things, and everything is looked at as how it pertains to self. That's self-centeredness. We
Hmm.
are extreme versions of self-centeredness. Yes? So, what we look at becomes very big, very small, and the looker at it becomes very, very big. Yeah. That's what
Hmm.
happens. So the proportion gets way out of proportion, and we're huge and we're all that we think about, but in one sense, we're not much. So it's very crazy. Yeah? And so, of course, getting this wish doesn't work out the way you would think it would get out. You would think that everything would go great if everyone wanted it to go great for Paul and or whatever, but it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oops. There's been a very big mistake that just reduplicates itself and over again. Oops, yeah, okay, fucking surrender. You're outmatched.
Hmm.
If you cannot control your drinking, it leads to the idea maybe you need to go to AA. Yeah, so that something can help you not drink a day at a time so that life can go on and maybe take you in a different direction. Or go to the bitter end, being right and alone, and see how that works. Yeah. AA isn't rushing into anyone's house and stopping them. If you want to fucking die, go ahead. A lot of ways. But if you want some help, where everyone's here to help you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I see it today.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yes. Okay. I think that's any more. Oh, we have Annette.
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 Annette's been waiting, Paul.
She's been waiting. Yes.
Been waiting. Come on in, Annette.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for the meeting. I've been listening to you for a long time, and I just trying to escape from the self. Um,
Forget that.
oh, years ago, like I
Hold
threw.
it a second, really. Forget that. That's self trying to get out of self. Doesn't
Yeah. Okay. I threw some like academic certificates in the bin like years ago, trying to escape, trying to get away from myself and my identity, and because all pursuit just felt painful. It felt like it was bringing self up, like I was trying to learn the guitar and I was doing a college course, and it all just felt like it was bringing self up for me. But now, like years after that experience, like I feel like I'm avoiding like um going back to college or reading smart books, because I just feel like when I get knowledge in my head, it just makes my head busy, and it just makes self feel stronger.
All right. Can
And
I say something? I believe that's self talking to you about self. Yeah.
okay,
If you like reading books, enjoy the reading of a book. Yes. And if you
okay,
believe something is taking it, using it for nefarious ends, you've been introduced to something much more powerful than that. and that other higher power will stop the takeover of self. But a lot of times self is describing its own behavior and saying, oh, if you do any fucking thing, it's going to be put to good use to build self. This is just a paralyzing effect.
Mm.
It's common. It fools us by taking counsel. It gives us counsel about self. Self does. And then we follow it and we live a drier life when we should just, yeah. If you like to read intelligent books, read it, man, and just the yeah, turn over the idea of being the reader and enjoy the reading. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
hate when the self is such a miser in a lot of ways. It wants to cripple you and then be the one to tell you at the point you can walk again. It's just a fucking bogus thing. Yeah. And so when it seems like you're going the martyrdom route, it's bogus. This is not about huge sacrifices unless it's necessary. It's not a drawn out plan. There's gonna have to be no, this doesn't have to be anything. Yes? Yes. Whatever is doing it can do it any way it freaking wants. Yeah. So the head is the head will sign up for you to become super great, a 50-year plan, and it's using you to not be okay right now. Yes, it's just it won't even if it sees a penny on the table, it'll steal it. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's just it's a very myopic, small uh, uh, thing. Yeah. So I humbly believe the head is subtle and sophisticated where you're sitting, and it's using that sophisticating to fuck you again. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff. Sooner or later, if you can play a tune, then all that stuff uh, had value because someone's going to hear that tune and it's going to make a smile. So that guitar playing has not been infected and tainted by self. Just surrender to the higher power, and whatever self thought was its is going to be put to great use. I have seen things that, from my point of view, from self's point of view, had no value, when turned over or surrendered, turned out to have great value. Yes? Now, did
Mm.
it grow value out of nothing? No. The potentiality was there. The self just stomped on it, stomped on it, stomped on it. Yeah. You turn that stuff over and you'll be put to good use. Now I should never have learned guitar, and now you're playing in front of people that don't hear any live music ever, and there you go. You're proven wrong once fucking again. Yeah. And
Mm.
that's the joy of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So self is just trying to keep up with you and saying, all this shit. And it's like a counsel that has to be heard, but you'll lose interest in it, literally. You need to get an understanding of the many faces of self because, yeah, so you can recognize it. Because it will obviously, if just go into the closet, change the wardrobe, and introduce itself as a new emperor. Yes. But
Mm.
once you catch it a few times, it won't matter what clothes it wears. You'll know the emperor has no clothes. You really will. It will come to an end. And yeah, yes,
Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes. If you're waiting, we're not talking one-on-one of this. We're just talking here. So when I say you, it's all of us. Huh? If you're waiting for it to stop, don't. Yeah. It's not stopping selfing, it's losing interest in it. Selfing is a mechanical activity of this programmable event. Yes? The sense of personalness is the syrup it makes. And we drink that syrup, but it's not personal at all. Yeah? So when something happens, it's going to claim to be the one it happened to or the one who did it. Yeah? Get used to that. Yeah? And you can throw as many bones as you like. It's not gonna learn a new trick, literally. This is a loss of interest in it. It's not rehabbing it, changing it. That's going to occur by the loss of interest in it. Yeah. It will be changed, but not by you as self trying to change self. That's not going to work. But through loss of interest in it, it changes for sure. A lot of stuff happens. Yes. Yeah. 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 And we're here to just support this, to support the outgrowing of self and the joy of in growing into something else. Yes, that's what we're here for. One of many things. Yes, hold the space for that outgrowing this, the old stuff, and growing into something else. Yes, that's it. And a lot of times it's happening unbeknownst to you. It's right, it's right underneath the self's nose. Yeah. You just keep the self little you send it around the corner for a half an hour and you get a lot better. Yes. And all the while it's looking constantly, it's happening right under its nose. Yes. Yes. It may have the same seat, but it gets moved from the CEO room to the mail room. It still has its same swivel seat, seeing all, but it gets moved without its knowledge into the mail room instead of the CEO office. It's still yapping, but no one's listening anymore. Oh, pretty good. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Annette. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we can let's start saying goodbye to everybody. Kathleen, always a pleasure, honey. It's been very nice to grow next to you as we grow. Yes. Yes. Wow. Getting very windy here. You can't hear it, but I have chimes that are going off like St. Patrick's Cathedral. It's great. Anu, always so nice to see my friend Anu. See her color, the hair color has changed again. Wow, somehow. It's like she's got some incredible lighting at the Zoom or something's going on. Nice to see you, honey.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Kathleen. That was beautiful reading. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, yeah. Rico Cruz, a man of his word. Rick Rowe, nice to see you, Rick. Arturs, Ted Y. Walter, nice to see you, bro. Joseph, our friend in France. Peter in Arizona. Annette in her car. Brian C. Yes. 2025 AD. Mickey, Mickey, our lifelong greeter. Stephen Mack on Having Never Left. Teresa, nice to see you. Looking comfortable. Gary Clark, my man in Placerville. Saraswati. Nice to see Saraswati in all her splendor. Yes, nice to see you. Annette. Oliver. Hey, we're going to come to back east in April. We'll be in New York, New Jersey area, and actually in Pennsylvania area. April 17th weekend, and then the next weekend there. We'll be there for a while. So we'll put it up later when it gets closer. So, Oliver, nice to see you, my friend. Tom, as always. Alan, Miss Volkman, she's very comfortable there. Nice to see you. Travis, yep, not far away in Santa Rosa. Hey, thank you, everyone. Pleasure today. It's such a joy to get together and share. You know, some of the heaviest lifting is just based on emphasis. Yeah. The emphasis changes and everything changes. Yeah. So someone who is a seeker will yell out, "I'm never going to get it," and and they're frustrated and super pissed. And then someone else who realizes something says, "I'm never going to get it," and it's a hallelujah because he knows that I can never get what I already am. Yeah, it's just emphasis. That's all it is. And so AA and the way of recovery is sublimely adept at changing emphasis. If you just live this life, it does. You know, a lot of big plans and big designs will be seen as little plans and little designs. Yeah, you'll see that you can easily stay out of the outcome business that you thought your whole life was based on the outcome going one way or another. You can just stay out of the outcome business. Yeah, all these things are made possible, and I feel for us, if we're at this point, how they're made possible is through recovery for most of us. Yeah. You may have another way it becomes possible through something else, but for most of us, it started with recovery. You know, we had to stop doing something before all this other shit could start again. Yeah. It was just the way it went. Not everyone's at that extreme condition, but many of us, we had to stop drinking and using. It was like a solar eclipse if we didn't. Yeah, the sun was there, but it was like blacked out. It was essential that we stop drinking and using, and we had admitted that we could not do that, and no human power could. Yeah, so wow. Yet something did, and something does. Yeah? And that to me is recovery. So all the things you thought you may have lost, they get recovered. They never were lost. You were lost. Yeah. Once you're found, you'll find a lot of shit. Literally. All right. Well, have a great day. We'll be here Saturday, I hope, and I hope to see you skipping the road of happy destiny. Yes.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
Yes,
Thanks,
Paul,
guys.
love the service, and thank you for your share.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kathleen. Excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.